Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to the Wealthy You podcast. I am your host, Terry Black, the Wealth Sharer, and I'm here to share wealth so you can build wealth. And by sharing wealth, I'm going to help you connect to your God given purpose within your business life so you can grow and prosper. Hey, my loves, this is Terry, the Wealth Sharer, and I am here with my first guest, Amanda Hyacinth. And with that, she is a business owner, and we're all here. You guys know I'm all about God. God is my love language, and I love being able to connect with other spiritual seekers that are pretty much trying to honor God through our actions. So, Amanda.
Hey guys,
Hey.
hey wealthies. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Terry.
She done nickname y'all. She
I
called y'all wealthies. Yes.
do y'all a nickname, but yes, thank you so much for having me. I can't believe I'm your first guest, but I'm so excited.
And guess what? I have something that we're going to be talking about burning right now because I love it so much. And we're going to get
Perfect.
that. It's literally amazing. And
Thank you.
a lot of people know that follow me. I am really big on trying my best to be obedient. The obedience walk is a walk in itself. But what I've learned from this walk is that great things come out of it. Prosperity, abundance, joy, happiness, peace. And for me, this candle brings me peace. So let's get into, tell us about your story when it comes to your candle business.
Okay, wow. So my candle business is the candles by the Amhyacinth. So God gave me this idea to start making candles in 2018. So it started out with me just ordering a few supplies and trying it. And I honestly didn't like it at first, right? And so I felt like even though it was a God-given idea, I wasn't obedient at first to it, right? That was probably like the end of 2018 when that happened. And then 2019, 2020, life was going on and I wasn't doing it, but it never left me. Like it never left my heart, it never left the back of my mind. It was always there, I was always being reminded of it. Um, People were even asking me about it, like, when are you gonna do your candles that you were talking about? And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I didn't really like it. I used the excuse of I didn't really like it. And in reality, I think it was just life was happening and then it was a little bit too hard. And at that point in my life, I didn't have the relationship with God that I have now. So I didn't know how to go to him and say, God, please help me. What am I supposed to do? What's my next step? So on and so forth. So that happened in 2018. At the end of 2022, in October specifically of 2022, um, I went to a conference, a church conference with Transformation Church, where I met some wonderful people. Met some sisters in Christ, and I actually told a friend of mine that, oh yeah, I have this little candle idea that I might want to do, and she got so excited about it. And she told me what she was doing, and um, we prayed on it, honestly. Like, and that's the first time I really did that. Like, I really was like, hmm, and prayed about it. And she actually was like, I think you should do it. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? But I now I know God was always like knocking on me, like knocking,
Mm,
you know, and then
yes.
I put that there for a reason. Like I put it there for a reason. You're being reminded for a reason. You're receiving confirmation for a reason. And so when I received the confirmation, um, I started to talk about it a little more, and I was receiving a lot of like affirmations, like do it, I would buy it out, I would, everyone was being so positive about it. And so I decided that was October of 2022, I would say I still did wasn't being obedient. And so by the time 2023 came around, I finally wrote it down on my to-do list, right? And that's all I did. I just wrote it down. I didn't take no steps. I didn't do anything yet. I just wrote it down. But seeing it there, I slowly started getting supplies and started doing research and started doing test candles and things like that. And then it built, I took a step. I took one step, God took a bigger step, and now I'm here. And I've been, I think, 2 weeks in, about 2 weeks that I've actually been selling. And, it's doing what it's doing. And I'm thankful, I'm grateful. And honestly, it's just all glory to God. So,
Yes, and
yeah,
I know those orders have been coming through from the time you actually wasn't even expecting to like open your doors as soon as
yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. I will actually say this. I was designing my website, right? And you know this. And I was not supposed to like have it on and available. I was just designing it. And I mistakenly put it on where people can actually buy. And someone, I'm not gonna say no names, but someone went and bought one. And I hear this cha-ching on my phone, and I'm like, hold up, how did someone buy the candle? And I realized like the website is on, it's available, like people can purchase. And I'm like, I went and I turned it off actually. And as soon as I turned it off, it was like, in my heart and in my mind and here, and I know that's how God speaks to me. It was like, but you're ready,
mm,
but you're ready.
yes,
And that mistake, now I know was not a mistake. You
purposeful.
It was very purposeful. And I even reached out to you and I was like, do you think maybe I should, just leave it on and, turn it back on? And he was like, yeah, why not? Like,
Yeah. And after that, orders,
And
yes.
after that, I turned it right back on that same day and orders have been coming through. And so I'm
Yeah.
grateful. Yeah.
So you said something that brought me back to my own story
Mhm.
about hard and, not being obedient. So in 2015 was my first business. 2016 was my second business.
Mhm.
And I say that with a grain of salt because I did do something like years before that, but I didn't really consider it a business because it was like a one-time thing, but it was more of the entrepreneur in me. But
Mhm.
with that, in 2016, I started Teaspirations with which was a mug business. And through that mug business, it was hard. It was not easy. I did a lot of research. I stayed up a lot, and God was giving me sayings that was just for me and me not realizing. I'm thinking it's for the masses, for the public, for everyone else. And then I one day realized where God spoke to me and told me, this is your story. This is for you. But one of the things I'll say to you is that I walked away because for me, it wasn't that it was hard because I enjoyed doing it. It was easy to make. It was
Yeah.
more of hard getting the sales. And with me, I was more about the money than the purpose at that time.
Mhm.
And with that, I, walked away from it, thinking I was walking away from it, not realizing it was my purpose. My purpose
Yeah.
was to help people change their mindset. My
Yeah.
purpose was to be able to help people not only change their mindset for themselves, but to be able to be closer to God because they're removing all that negativity and positivity is where God, that's where God
Absolutely.
is, right?
In the light. Yep.
In the light.
Mhm.
So when you mention it being hard and,
Mhm.
not feeling connected, I felt connected, but again, my priorities was really wrong in the second business and the
Yeah.
first business too, because it's like I just wanted to make money. I just thought that's what business was all about, making
Right.
money.
Right, right. No, that's beautiful. I mean, yeah, you have to have those priorities straight. You know what I mean? Like, even now, I'm like, first off, this is just a way for me to use my creativity. And I'm like in a space where I'm like, hey, however you want to use me, God, use me. Like, if this is just so I can use my hands and be creative, fine. If you trying to take this from, nothing to a multi-million dollar, fine. If you take this away tomorrow, fine. You know what I mean? I want to make sure no matter what I do, like it's with purpose and it's in God's will. You know what I mean? And I never want something like money to, be the motivator of what I'm doing. So no, I thank you for sharing that because that's a lesson for me. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, wealth is, God keeps telling me, wealth is more than money.
Yeah.
Wealth is about your knowledge, and that knowledge will help you get to money, but it's also about knowledge of your purpose. Because when you are serving in your purpose and you are serving God in your business, because that's why He gave us the business to serve Him, not ourselves, there's just a different type of way you approach life and a way you approach your business, because you won't necessarily be money hungry because you know God is going to provide.
Yeah.
So let's get into these questions that I have for
Yeah.
you. So tell me, what does finding the wealthy you mean for you?
Oh, the wealthy me, to me, that is finding the best version of myself, finding the best version of Amanda Hyacinth. And because of my faith, I believe that the best version of me is the version that was created before I was in my mother's womb. So
Mm,
I believe that God creates us, after his own image. I believe that he names us. You know what I mean? My name is Amanda. My name means worthy of love. And so he names us, and then he chooses us to go into the earth with purpose, with his will, to our families in the time that he chose, in the way that he chose, for a purpose. And so to me, the best version of me is whatever he created before I was even here on this earth. And that's actually my daily prayer. I always ask God, like, God, return me back to who you made me to be,
love that.
right? Like before the pain, before the hurt, before the trauma that life brings. Who did you make me? You know what I mean? Teach me who I am. And that to me is the best version of me, that is going to be the best version of me, that would always be the best version of me. And so that's the wealthiest version of me too, you know?
Love it, because what you said is pretty much something that people don't understand, and something that I didn't necessarily understand before, how close I am to God, because God is my best friend.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Mhm.
understand that there was a plan
Yeah.
before I was created. And we go through life fighting against the plan because we think that the things that we see in the physical realm is really and truly for us, when a lot of things is not. So that is also my prayer to God, alignment to his will, and helping me to learn more obedience, and helping me to accept the things that I do not understand. So in that is the creation of our stories. The God has already designed our plan for us, and we have a story. And truly, when we allow God to order our steps, we are just watching life unfold. And a lot of people don't really understand, if they want to be in control, because that's where we think we're
Human
supposed
nature,
to control
yes.
life.
Yeah. It's human nature to want to be in control. You know, what do they say? Like, if you want God to laugh, tell him your plans.
Yes. Oh, trust and believe.
I I'm telling you, like if 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 my life was going according to my plans, I wouldn't be living where I live. I wouldn't be doing what I do. Like, but I see God in everything that has happened. I see God, how God has ordered my steps. I've seen God literally shift my life in a week. You know what I mean? Like flip it on its head
Yes.
and then walk me through building it back up. That's a story for another time. But
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I've
Yes. We
I
have stories.
yes, I've lived through that. So it's like at this point, I know that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? Just having faith, waking up every day, thankful that I'm up, and asking God to just like whatever is in your desire, whatever are the desires of your heart, make them the desires of my heart. So
Mm.
that way I know whatever steps I'm taking, I'm s- I'm supposed to be. I can't say I have 100% confidence, but I am gaining confidence in that everything that I'm doing and every step that I take is what God wants me to do.
Yes. 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 And you mentioned something about, waking up every day and asking God. And that's also my process. Every morning, after I say my prayers, after I wake up, the last thing I do is set my intentions for the day. And God, because that's how God wants me to be mindful of what I'm calling into my life through
Yeah.
setting my intentions. But the last thing I say is everything of your will.
Yeah.
So, but the things I'm saying is things that are positive, abundance, happiness, obedience. God, this is the day the first thing I always say is servitude.
Yes.
So I thank God for waking us all up this day. And I say, God, please allow this day to be filled with servitude. And I go down a list. And,
Mhm.
sometimes I'll have 5 things. I might have 10 things. I might have 15 things. But the last thing
Mhm.
I say
Yeah.
is in your will.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful to be in a space of being conscious enough to understand how God leads us and how God speaks to us and how God is pushing us towards the happiness and the desires of our hearts and the will that he wants for us, because it's really the easiest path that we can live.
It's the easiest path. Oh my goodness. I want everyone to know that.
I will
Like,
let them know.
even life is going to happen. Life is going to come at you, it's going to throw things your way. But if you have a relationship with God, it is the easiest thing. It's the easiest way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I pray that everyone knows that or finds that out. Like, it's the most peaceful way. You are filled with joy and content. You're smiling just because, like, every day you would say, talking about your affirmations. I will give this my older brother Justin. He told me one day, he was like, I think you would appreciate this. He said, I wake up every morning and I say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Ooh, brother.
yeah, go big brother, right? And so since then, I've actually took that from him, and
Yeah.
I say that every day. And I'm just like, I pray, I worship, and I'm like, this is the day that the Lord has made. Like, so regardless of what comes, it's like the day the Lord made this day. Whatever's in it is supposed to be in it. And if you know God loves you, right? Everything is going to be okay. And I
Yes.
walk into my days like that.
Yes. And
Yeah.
even for me, regardless of anything, because for me, like I coach in the business life, but at the end of the day, business or not, it's our lives, right?
Right.
We have to be have healthy mindset. What is it? Mental wellness,
Yes.
in going into anything we do. And it becomes easier to operate in the business space when we learn how to operate in the life space.
Ah,
there's
amen.
there's a correlation there that so many people are not really understanding, which is really becoming the wealthy you, because it's not just becoming wealth in business in terms of money. No, you
Mm.
become wealth and abundance and have generosity and abundance and all happiness and joy and peace of mind and all those things, and have moments of zen within your personal life, and it's going to pour into your business life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's 100% facts. And that's why your work is so important.
Yes.
Like, your work is so important.
Thank you. I will say this, one of the things about connecting to God and being in a space where I can hear God clearly has allowed me to operate authentically. And
Oh,
that's something that, was a struggle for many.
ooh, yes. Terry, you are preaching. Like, you are, ah,
I do a little something.
yes. That's it right there. Like, that is no, I'm so happy you said that. And as you said that, like, I'm thinking of times in my work life, like, we're young Black women working in corporate America. You know what that is
Mhm,
like.
mhm, mhm.
And my relationship with God, seeking a relationship with him, I've went from going into work feeling like I have to be a certain way, whether it's code switching, acting, toning myself down, right? Like, I'm a West Indian woman from Brooklyn. Hello. Like, you already know.
I know
You're a
West,
West
West New York,
Indian
Brooklyn,
woman
Brooklyn, so I know
from
too.
Brooklyn. Exactly. walking into the workplace, you feel like you
In the
have to,
South.
in the South, you feel like you have to be a certain way. And as I am becoming more confident because of my relationship with God, as I'm seeking to have a deeper connection with God, I walk into work myself. I
Absolutely.
can honestly say that. And I'm so thankful because a lot of people don't or feel like they can't.
Mm,
I know God before me in every room,
yes.
in every room.
Yes. No man can be against you.
I'm gonna say this one occurrence, like this happened at work the other day. I had set up a meeting with someone, right? Never met this woman in my life, right? But I was working on something, needed some assistance, reached out to her, set up a meeting, right? She walked before the meeting, she walks up to my desk. Never seen her in my life. She finds my desk, walks up to me, she says, "Hey, I'm so and so." And she's like, "I heard that you're very intuitive.
Mm,
I just want to," what did she say? She said, "I heard you're very intuitive and I just want to make sure I'm prepared for our meeting." And I'm like, I've never met this woman. My name, God, like my name is in rooms before I'm in rooms.
yes.
God,
Come through.
God is in rooms, walking in rooms before me, before I'm even in the room.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, like, I get to be me at work now with my relationship with God.
Mm.
So, like, it's all connected. It's
Oh,
all,
it, oh my gosh, I can like go so many different ways with that. And
yeah.
okay, so what I'm going to say about the connection is that people don't realize that we are connected. God is source energy. We're connected to God, and God knows what everybody needs. And people don't realize, like, people are like, oh, well, how did you know that? Or I was thinking about you and you called me. All that is because we're connected to God, and He tells us how to move when we listen. So when we are conscious and aware of how God is moving us, and how God is connected to other people, then I'm always told that there's nothing that is a coincidence. Everything's purposeful. So yes, even going back to being in rooms beforehand, when God told me I was going to speak on a stage, and I remember that morning I was just a little nervous, speak to over 100 women. But when I say that through God coaching me, because God, He's our father, He's our coach, He's our provider, He is everything, right? So through God coaching me, I stood on that stage speaking to over 100 women and did not feel nervous at all. And, that was a first experience speaking to women of 100 women. I've spoken in front of a room of 40, maybe a room of like 50 people, but never 100 plus.
Yes.
So that's how, when God was like, don't be nervous. He told me that morning, do not be nervous. And I didn't have to sell because I wasn't there to sell. I was there to help people increase their motivation and have inspiration to know that God is opening doors for them. So,
Yes.
question for you.
Okay.
How do you describe wealth?
Um, okay, that's good. That's a good question. I would say wealth is abundance. Just if I had to describe it in one word, it's abundance. It's abundance in love, it's abundance in, healthy relationships, it's abundance in peace, joy, the fruits of the spirit. It's abundance in all of those things. And it is abundance in finances. We're not supposed to struggle. Let's
Right.
just be
Yes.
real. We're
Amen.
not supposed to struggle. We have inheritance. We're not supposed to be on this earth struggling. We were never meant to struggle.
Mhm.
We're always supposed to walk with God. You know what I mean? And He is our provider. He gives us everything we need. That's the original design. So wealth is having an abundance of love, peace, joy, discipline, okay, patience, good things,
Yeah.
positivity. That's wealth.
And that's what I pray more people understand. You hear the word wealth and people automatically assume rich, right? You can be rich and you can be wealthy. It's two different lanes, right?
Right.
And when I started working with clients, when I first started, I was working with clients in terms of helping them get out of debt. And that was where I was primarily in the space of helping people get out of debt. And people don't realize that most people feel the same emotions towards feeling broke. And as I started working with clients, the more and more I worked with people and started to realize there was the same thought process, the more
Mm,
I went into the mindset. And the more I went into the
mm,
mindset, the more I went into affirming your words carefully. And the
yeah,
more God guided me towards, words of affirmation and the power of words, the more God brought me to him
mm,
and being able to talk about him, because when people recognize that it is God that guides us in what we do, we will have an abundance of everything if we listen. So, um, you know, I would just say people can be guided in not spending money,
yeah,
and they'll hear, don't spend that. They may not know that it's God telling them not to spend
mm,
it. And they spend it and then they end up dealing with the consequences because now they can't afford the things
yeah,
that we spent money on. And God's like, one of the things that we have moved into as a culture is instant gratification.
yes,
And instant gratification has cost us to be in debt, and some people more debt than others. Back in 2018, I want to say 2018. I want to say that was the year that my I helped my family pay off over $100,000 worth of debt in
congratulations. That's
14
wow.
months. In 14 months. And through that journey, I started helping people get out of debt
Yes,
because people were frustrated, unhappy. They were they hated going to work because they
yeah,
feel like they weren't being paid enough. Like you can't even get to enjoy your job because you're thinking about your paycheck. And
mhm,
if your paycheck's not enough, then you feel like you are pretty much being overworked for no pay. And
mhm,
it takes away the joy from work. So there was so many things that clients was experiencing, feeling like they're a failure, feeling like they are just not providers, male and females. I work now primarily with women, but I was working with men as well. So with that, people don't realize that that financial aspect is when you put yourself in a position of having too much debt, your mind will go to a place of lack. And that is
yeah,
not what wealth is. Wealth is truly abundance in everything.
yes, and freedom. That's
Free.
what I thought of while you were talking, freedom.
Yes.
Freedom, it lifts that weight off your shoulders. You're helping people lift a heavy weight off of their shoulders so they can experience freedom. Yeah.
Yes, and, I remember one of my clients, she bought a second home, um, through paying off her student loans and her car loans and, all those things, and she became free, and let me tell you how free she got. I remember she was working, like, 3 different jobs in the, industry that she was in, and as we started working together, she was like, quitting one by one, and then she had one main, job that was bringing in more money, but
Mhm.
she released all of the weight of feeling overworked and overwhelmed and having to work so many jobs,
Yeah.
and there's freedom in it all. And that lack, when people move away from broke, right? Broke is not just broke for your
Growth
finances,
mindset.
broke in mindset. And people
Mhm.
don't understand the correlation. So I say all the time, I've been saying it for years, there is power when people say they feel broke. You're
Yep.
not just saying that you feel broke, you're calling in a state of lack.
Yes, you're casting a spell on yourself.
Words cast spells.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Words cast spell. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand how powerful the words are. One of the things that God told me within the past week, one of the lessons, it was a lesson that God was bringing me through, but he taught me this was, he said, I made this world with
Mhm.
words.
Ooh,
And if you are made in the same image as me, you
listen.
also have the power of creating your world with words. So when we speak things, we are speaking it into our reality. And those
Ooh,
words that's coming out of our mouths and even words we're playing in our mind is powerful. But when we speak it, oh my gosh, I mean, that's another story for another day. Like God has been
mm,
talking me through so many lessons about the power of
yeah,
words,
yes.
but we don't realize when God says we're made in his image, it
Mhm.
also means we have the power to create with our
Yes.
words.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I had to like seriously. Oh my gosh. To know that God created us with his words.
Words.
Just to take a moment and just take that in.
Yes.
Look, when you look around you and you see the beauty of everything that's in this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is, it really makes you feel, it's emotional. It's like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
you have to be careful with the things that you say and the things that you think. Your thoughts become words, your
Your
words
thoughts
become
become
action.
actions. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That God has been teaching me that literally, that whole your thoughts become words, words become action. God has been having me say it for like over a year. And going back to what you said about understanding the beauty of this world, a lot of people don't take time to stop and enjoy the trees and the sky and
Yeah.
hear the birds and just they're such in a rush to the next thing that
Yes.
they don't take time to see the beauty and the vibrations of this world. One of the times I remember back in 2016, when I was again in my journey of being intentional about finding more about God and understanding myself while I was trying to work that business because I had a lot of time because um I was unemployed from leaving Macy's. I got laid off from Macy's, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna spend. I don't want to work. Intentionally, don't want to work. We had enough money
Yeah.
saved. I was good, but with
Yeah.
that time, I was more of like paying attention to the vibrations of the trees.
Mm.
And then what came to me was that we vibrate as well. And I remember coming across um, and I'm seeing it in my head, a video that talked about the vibration of water and
Yeah.
how when like there was you can YouTube it, guys. If you go
Yeah.
on YouTube, you can look at water, I guess the vibration of water. And if you speak negative to a water and freeze
Yeah.
it, it looks ugly. But if you
Yeah.
speak positively to water and freeze
Yeah.
it, it becomes a beautiful crystal.
Yeah. Yeah, like your plants. People talk to their plants for the same reason. You got to
Yes.
talk to your plants every day. They grow big and beautiful and lush. And when you don't, like me, they die, unfortunately. I do not have a green thumb, but you know, it's the truth.
It's the
It's the
truth.
truth. Your words are so important. They really,
Yes.
yeah,
And even with the people who want to start a business, God give them these ideas about businesses and they automatically say, no, I can't do that. Or they go and tell it to someone who also don't understand God and the way God speaks to them. And that person tells them, no, they can't. So it becomes a cycle of them hearing no's, no's, no's. But
yep,
what they don't understand is when you say no, you're telling God no.
yes. Oh, you said something. You said something because when you said that, what I thought is a lot of times people will get an idea from God and they will go run and tell the wrong person, right? And because that person sees your potential,
Mm.
right? They
Hmm.
tell you, no, you can't do it.
Right.
No, you can't. They're speaking that over you
Yes.
while
Yes.
God is speaking that you can do it.
Right. And therefore, we end up listening to man over listening to
Yes.
God.
Yes.
And that's one of the things where people don't understand. Like when you get close to God, God will tell you who to speak to, who not to speak to, what
Come
to
on.
say, what not to say. Because
Come
I hear very loud and clear who to stay away from and who to speak. And I've learned my lessons,
on.
like
Mhm.
I 9 out of 10 times. I listen
Mhm.
when God told me not to speak to someone about something. And
Yes.
one time I didn't. I was just like, okay, God, I understand. Now I'm just like paying close attention to everything because I don't want to make, I don't
Absolutely.
want to, I don't want to stumble again,
Right. Right. You don't want to learn the hard way. And that's what it is. A lot of people like to learn the hard way.
Yes.
And
And
it's
yes,
like,
we
you
was
don't,
there, but now we understand.
yes, God will grant you wisdom.
Yes.
You don't have to learn the hard way. We don't
So
have to learn
someone
because
I
life
was,
is hard anyway. Life is going to throw things at us anyway.
but it
You know,
becomes easier when we listen to God. So
exactly.
someone I was speaking to earlier today, they were talking about that they were asking God for patience. And I
Mhm.
said to them, "Would you also need to understand when you ask God for patience, He's going to test you. This
Mhm.
means you're going to go through an experience that's going to test your patience. And then
Mhm.
God's going to look and see how well you're being patient in that moment. And
Yeah.
then say you don't meet the criteria, He's going to give you another test and he's
Yeah.
going to keep testing you until your patience get where it needs to be. So people don't understand that's how God operates.
Yes, he's going to test you.
He's
That's
going to test you.
that. Yes.
Ask and receive.
He
Hello.
gonna test you with that coworker that you don't really like. He gonna test you,
Right.
with the traffic. He's going to test you. Yeah.
And
You
he's
have to
also,
continue to choose.
yes, and he's
We
also
have
going to
that.
test you when it comes to business. A lot of people say, God, I want to make the money. And then
Mhm,
God will say, here's the idea. And then they don't want to do the work
mhm.
because
Mm.
they think it's just going to fall in their lap.
Yeah. Oh,
And it
that
don't work
instant
that way.
gratification. That instant gratification that you spoke
Yeah,
about. That's
yeah.
what that is.
God will
Yeah.
test you. God tests us in our business. And I would say it's more of doing the work, right?
Mhm,
He gives us an assignment and it's
mhm,
a, are you going to do what I ask you to? Now, I'll
mhm,
tell you this, God does give us a lot to do.
mhm.
He
Okay.
will put a lot on our plates, right? Our cup runneth
Mhm.
over, right?
Yes. Yes.
But with that, not everything's for now. And some of the things that it's for now, it's more of how bad do you want it?
Mhm.
That is a test.
Okay. Oh, that's a lesson for me for sure.
Mm,
Consistency. That's what I just got. Consistency.
yes,
Being
yes. Okay.
consistent. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yes,
I'm
God
listening.
speaks. God speaks. So, when did you understand that wealth was more than money?
Mm. When I don't know when. I don't know if it was a point in time. Let's think. Let's see. Oh, okay. I'll say this. It's probably a series of events in my life. I feel like I've always had with some type of wisdom. But I would say like when I first moved to Georgia, um, what 2009, when I first moved to Georgia, of course you're brand new to somewhere and like I was trying to hustle, right? I was hustling, right? So I had like two, three, well, initially I had one job. Wasn't cutting it. Obviously, I'm brand new, learning, the area. It was culture shock for me because you go from New York City to Georgia and it's a lot slower.
Yes.
Um, so it's a lot of culture shock, but I'm learning. And you get one job and it's not cutting it. So you get two jobs and it's not cutting it. So there was a time where I was working three jobs,
Mm,
right? And so I was making money then, right? And a lot of people equate money to wealth or finances to wealth. Now, I ain't gonna say I was wealthy. We're not gonna go all the way there. But I was making some money because I was working multiple jobs. But
right.
then I didn't have any time,
Mm,
right? And I didn't have anything else but those jobs and that money. So is that really what I wanted?
mhm,
Is
mhm,
that, and then with the understanding that that's not what wealth is. And also that's not how you build wealth either.
mm,
You can have a million jobs, right? How you steward those
mm.
finances,
Great word.
how you steward your finances, how you are disciplined, what you do with that tool that is money. That's a way to build wealth,
Yes.
right? So just working a bunch of jobs, having no time, having no freedom to do anything else. I knew that that wasn't wealth. And so that's, I guess, one way I understood like, hey, like this money is not equaling to wealth. It's
Mm,
something different.
mm.
So,
That's
yes.
that's that's a great one. What came to me when you were speaking was I remember seeing images of what people correlated as rich versus wealthy.
Mhm,
And also with when my journey going into paying off over the $100,000 of debt in that 14-month span, what got me started was reading the book A Millionaire Next Door. And that book really talked about like you can't see someone's bank account by looking at
mhm.
them, right?
Okay.
You can't see someone's bank account by what they drive. So I was driving a Benz at the time, and I actually traded in my Benz for a Honda, which I love Hondas. And my Honda literally had more bells and whistles than the Benz, what like go figure, right? But
Yeah.
with that, it was just one of those things where God started cutting me back to understand that wealth was not in material things.
Yes. It's not the name brand. It's not what you're wearing on your back. Yeah, no,
Right.
that's good.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, especially with social media being such a thing and people allowing it to kind of rule their lives, it's like everyone wants to look a certain way, be a certain
Impossible.
way,
Hmm.
buy whatever's trending. And it's like,
Right.
but what, your bank account don't match your
Mm.
bag.
Right. Right.
Your bank account don't match your shoes. Your bank account don't match what you're driving.
Hmm.
You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Your credit score don't match your shoes, your
Yeah.
bag, your, you know what I mean? So
Yes. Go ahead and let them be in their feelings with me. Let them know. No, but truly, it is not to hurt anyone's feelings. It's more of those realizations that, that's one of
absolutely.
the things I had to go through as well, was that at that time period in my life,
Mhm.
like, yes, I will say in theory there was some matching, but not essentially, because we had $100,000 worth of debt and we was making it, but it was
Mhm.
just like that was not the life we wanted to live. When you like,
Yeah.
and one of those things is like you don't really understand it until you add it all up. And when you
Mm.
add it all up, you're like, oh my goodness, how did I get here?
Mhm.
Right.
A good
How,
feeling, yeah.
and that debt also included that Benz.
Mm.
That debt included like another car and some credit cards. But it's like it didn't seem bad in theory because you're working and you're paying it off each
Yeah.
month. But if it's not something that you can at a blink of the eye pay it off in full, or it don't feel like it's you spending pennies, then is it
Mhm.
really worth it?
Yeah.
So
And
that's one of the
that's
things. Oh, go ahead.
sorry. I just want to say this. Like, it's not wrong to like nice things. I just want to throw that out there.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes, yes. Because I like
like
nice
it,
things. I love luxury things. I'm all
yeah.
luxury. Yes.
Yes. And when you work hard and when God says yes, that's how I look at it. That's my personal belief. When God
Yes.
says, oh, it's okay, it's okay. If you enjoy nice things and you enjoy luxurious things, as long as you don't, key word, as long as you don't idolize it.
Yes. That part.
That
No,
part.
seriously, that part. Because even for me, when I drove my Benz, a lot of my friends and family didn't even know that I even owned a Benz
Yeah.
because I bought it for me. I
Yeah.
didn't buy it for people. But I
Mhm.
also remember feeling uncomfortable because there was like a key person who will always, in like my corporate environment, who will always make
Mm.
reference to my car. And
Mm.
it made me uncomfortable. And literally, I probably hid my car from a lot of people like on purpose because I'm like, I didn't get it for people, right? It's really something I wanted for myself. It wasn't about people. It was never about the people, but I did have a lesson in trading it in wondering what would people think when I went from a Benz to a Honda,
Yeah.
because some people see it as a downgrade,
A
but no,
down, yeah.
but I
It's the
was
car.
happy, right? It's a car to get me from point A to B. So
Amen.
if I do get another Benz, if I do plan on getting another Benz, um,
Mhm.
point, it will be like my weekend
Yeah.
car. It won't be my primary car because a lot of people drive, I'm not going to say that. God told me to reel it in. Okay. Okay, God.
Reel it in. You gotta
Reel.
listen. You gotta be obedient. You gotta be obedient. And really, that speaks to your heart posture because most people would look at going from a Benz to a Honda as a downgrade. But it's like God could give it to you, He could take it away. And a lot of times when God gives you something and then takes it away, it's because He has something better for you anyway.
Yes.
He's just, again, testing you. Do you
That's what
I
I heard.
thing? Do
I
you I
literally heard that.
come on?
Yep.
It's the connection.
Yep. Yep.
Idolize that thing. You know what I'm saying? And as long as we don't idolize name brands and we don't idolize money, then you can enjoy it. You
Yes.
can enjoy it. So yeah.
And one thing you said is important, and honestly, too, the lesson about idolizing material things has been a lesson that God has been talking to me to over the past couple of weeks.
Mhm.
If not a little bit before, I will say definitely this year, God has been talking to me about idolize, like not what idolizing mean, that
Mhm.
you can have it or not have it. Or when you have it, it's not a ooh, oh my gosh, like look at me
Look at
world
me.
kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? It's a you buy it for yourself because you can buy something that's name brand and still enjoy it the same weight of that brand. Like it shouldn't be that much of a difference where you hold it in such a high regard
Yeah.
to where you start acting funny and
Right.
your ego
Yeah.
gets,
It goes through the roof. Yeah.
yes. But with that test, God, so you also said when God says yes,
Yeah.
like I remember being led to give away my bins. I remember hearing it's the best thing to do. But it was also a lesson in it, right? And it's one of those things where there's a story in the Bible that talks about the rich man that wanted to follow Jesus, and Jesus asked him to get rid of
Give
his
away
stuff,
his stuff.
give it away.
Yep.
He wasn't willing to do it, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
at the drop of a hat, when God tells you to get rid of something, whether you could afford it or not, are you willing to do so? And
Yeah.
that is the lesson, and that is the test.
Yes. No, that's good. That is good.
All right. So, when did you realize, and you may have answered this already, but let's kind of talk more about it. When
Okay.
did you realize that God was speaking to you about starting a business?
Okay. So yeah, um, I realized when I wasn't being obedient, right? So I know I mentioned that God gave me the idea in 2018. I knew it was God because I was isolated in that time. I
Mm,
didn't have any influences around me. I'm really not big on social media. I literally took like 3.5, 4 years off. So around 3.5 to 4 years off of social media. So I knew I didn't have anything influencing me to do this. Like, so when God gave me the idea, I knew it was God, but um run it back. Ask the question one more
all
time.
right. So, when did you realize that God was speaking to you about starting a business?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Um Yes. So when I wasn't being obedient.
When you wasn't obedient.
So yes. So I would say being isolated and knowing that I didn't have any other influences around me, I knew it wasn't like a friend or something I seen or oh, so and so starting a business, I need to do it. Or so and so has this hobby, I want to have a hobby. It wasn't anything like that. It just came to me,
Mm,
right? And I think that in that moment, I probably wouldn't have said it was God, but now looking back, I can say, "Oh, I know what that was. I know that was God that gave me that idea." But yeah, as I was not being obedient in it, and I would say this too. I feel like a way that you know God is giving you something is if it doesn't go away. Like I said earlier.
the nudging, the nagging
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah,
Yes.
it didn't go away. So even though I tried and I quote unquote I said I didn't like it, which wasn't the truth, um, it just never went away throughout the years. It just went to the back burner. It just went to the back of my mind. I didn't prioritize it.
Mhm.
And I was just like, okay, well, like it would just be a little hobby anyway.
Right.
Right. So it's not that important, right? Like in the back of my head, but it just never left. And this just came to me. I will say that when I went to that church conference, right? I had no plans on talking about it.
Mm,
Like I said, it wasn't something that I was like talking about or sharing because I had no plans on doing it, right? It was just an idea. But something, and now I can say that something is God, the Holy Spirit, made me say it, made me tell people. And it was like, even when I said it, I'm like, why am I telling these people about this? Like, I'm not about to do this. Why am I even saying it? But now I know it was the Holy Spirit being like, no, say it. Say
mhm.
it because I'm telling her to say something back to you. Because I need you to know that you need to do this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think all of those things made me realize that
Awesome.
all,
So,
all together.
what I
Yeah.
heard was God will push you through the door when you don't listen.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's what I heard. God will push you through that door when you won't listen, especially when it's like really something that you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I will say too, like with my journey, like, you know, I remember what came to me when you were speaking, and for those who are tuning in for the first time, when I say what came to me is the fact that I can hear clearly. So that's what
Mhm.
I'm literally hearing
Okay.
in my mind, hearing God and my angels as well. Holy Spirit. So with that, I remember when I was in my journey of like paying off debt. And like I said, my journey of paying off debt helped me to start helping people. But God had me doing it in a free way first. Then I was showing people around me who, like, whether they asked or not, I was telling people ways that they can, save, and ways they can organize their finances and categorize, and banks they can use for high yield savings, and things they can do
Mhm.
to get fixed gas rates so they can cut down on their winter bills. Like, I was sharing that information.
Knowledge. Yeah.
That's why I became the wealth sharer. I was sharing the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
People can become
Yes.
abundant and wealthy and
Yes.
prosperous in their lives. And
Yes.
that journey, one person ended up paying off debt for themselves. I think there was like $90,000 in debt and they paid it off. Another person,
Amazing.
who confirmed most recently, she will be finished with her mortgage super early, and
Mm,
she's like still in her 20s.
nice.
She'll be finished with her mortgage,
Awesome.
in her early mid 30s. And it's
Mhm.
just one of those things, was that God was like, you helped do that because you were steadfast in your purpose, in terms of like, without realizing it, God still had me working in my purpose, even though I was not doing it in the business format, to
Yeah.
get back to the business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That is good.
God will push you through them doors, girl.
Yeah. You you listened, and the fact that you did it for free first, that stuck with me just now.
Mm,
Like you did it out of servitude, out of serving, out
yep.
of kindness of your heart, you did it. Out of being obedient, you did it, and now you're being rewarded.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, listen,
Yeah.
I had to learn that. I had to learn that. And I think too, because I had been praying about, I guess just one, praying about like something to do with my hands, something to be creative. Cause I'm work in the HR, I'm in HR. And so you don't always get to be creative. Some every now and again, yes, but like I remember praying like I need something to let my creativity out.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I think because I kept asking for that, and God is like, girl, I've been told you, like, if you would have listened the first time, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you ask God for like the same thing in different ways, and
Yeah.
He's just like, but I told you already, or
Right.
I answered you already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. Yes. And something I was going to say to you, but something I was going to say to y'all, heard, don't say that. So I'll tell you,
Ooh,
listen, God puts me in check, and I love it because, curtailing that tongue can, it can protect you in many ways. So there is protection in what I was about to
let me
say.
ask, did he say not to say it on the podcast, or did he say not to say it at all?
I don't remember what it is. That's how quickly it came and went.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
means don't say it at all.
That was a not for me and not for nobody.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So, when was your aha moment when you realized that you had a purpose?
Ooh, I love
Now,
this
this
question.
is even outside of, because, sometimes your purpose is tied to your business, but your purpose is tied to your life.
Mm-hmm. Ah, aha moment. So I don't know if I could pinpoint one moment, to be
Okay.
honest. Um, I feel like I've always known that I had a purpose. I feel like everyone has a purpose, to be like, everyone has a purpose. So that means I have purpose. I think the question for me would be, when did you find out what your purpose was?
Mm,
You know?
mm,
And I think that I found out what my purpose was very, very recently, actually, like
mm,
very recently. Um, I've always heard like what you want to do in life is whatever it is you're good at, or whatever. And now I know that like, it's like God blesses us with certain skills, talents naturally. Like
Yes.
there are some things you can just do naturally. And for me, I had to really sit and be like, okay, what is my God given talent, skill, whatever it is? And I will say that for me, it has always been one, I'm a great listener, right? Like I'm a good listener. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything.
I saw the way you smiled. I was like, why is she smiling?
I'm a great listener, but in my circle of friends, even when I could remember being in elementary school on like the playground, and kids would come up to me and tell me like their deepest, darkest secrets.
Mm,
And I'm just like, okay, like, like I'm not gonna tell anybody. I'm gonna keep that confidence. You know what I'm saying? You can trust me, but all my life, people have been able to talk to me and tell me things that they wouldn't tell anybody else. And tell me, I've never told anybody else this.
mm.
Um, I've always been like the advice giver, or someone has to make a huge life change or decision, and they call me and we're on the phone for hours just talking it through. I feel like that is what God has blessed me with. And that is what I'm supposed to do to help and serve others.
Love it.
I
Love
just, yeah, that's so yeah, and I found that out. I think I've been doing that for a very long time, but my relationship with God and becoming closer to God, I can put that in words now, you know?
Mm, yes. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Trust and believe because I remember thinking about like not being able to translate things something I experienced into words. And God,
Mhm.
I heard God said, like, there's a word, like you can describe it.
Yeah.
There's a way to describe it.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to just also touch on is that there's a lot of people wrestling with the fact that they don't know their purpose.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, for me, when I did ask God about my purpose in 2016, I feel like that was when, again, I started my journey being intentional about finding out more about God. I started with trying to understand um, vibrations and energy and affirmations and,
Yeah.
um, the universe, and not
Mhm.
realizing it was all about God. Like I didn't understand how it all married to God.
Yeah.
And with that, the word purpose didn't stand out to me until 2016, really and truly, which is what it's like, oh, I have a purpose. Okay, God, what's my purpose? And God told me because God felt I was ready. I didn't know I
Mhm.
was ready, right? But one of the things where people wrestle with not being able to know their purpose or feel like God is not telling their purpose, or they're not, yeah, God is not telling their purpose is because they're not ready. God
Mhm.
will only reveal your purpose if you're going to work that purpose for Him. Period.
Yes. Yes.
Period.
Wow. No,
If
that's good.
Yeah, like if you are going to serve God with your purpose, He will fully explain it to you.
Mhm.
And if there are things that you need to work on to execute that purpose, God is going to help you develop, train, and become a better version of yourself so you can be
Yeah.
more connected to that purpose. A lot of
Yeah.
times people want purpose, but they ain't going to do nothing with it. So why is God going to release it to you? Because you don't
Yeah.
want to work on your attitude. You don't want to work on your ego. You don't want to
Yep.
work on your selfishness. You don't want to work on your patience. You don't want to work on your forgiveness. You don't want to work on how you love, who you love. You don't want to work on listening to
Come
God.
on.
So God is not going to reveal nothing to you if you ain't ready.
If you're not humble, God, you better read it. You better be reading, folks. You
Listen,
better read
God is
them.
looking through.
No,
Looking.
you're really teaching. You're really, that's all jokes. You are really teaching. Like, that's the truth. If you're not humble, if you don't humble yourself before the Lord, and I had a lesson with that just the other
Yes.
day.
Yes. Yes. I was with you
But
on that lesson. Yes.
yes, I had to humble myself. Um, if you're not ready to be humble before God, um, yeah, I do feel like God will give you glimpses.
Glimpses.
We're
Yes.
asking because the thing is, when we pray, when we ask God, God is our Father, so He's gonna answer your prayers.
Yeah, but he ain't gonna tell you the whole thing though. He ain't gonna
Oh
tell
yeah,
you the whole thing.
exactly. He would. I feel like He would give you the bits and pieces. He would give
Mhm.
you what you're ready for. It's all about His timing, anyway.
Yes.
I mean,
The
but He
key
would give
word,
you a glimpse.
ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like He would give you a glimpse, and depending on what you do with that glimpse,
Mm.
get the next one. Depending on what you do with that, He would give you the next one. Now,
Yes.
if you get a glimpse of your purpose, if you get a little inkling of your purpose and you don't do anything with it, it's like, well, I just answered your prayer. So now what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, I feel like I heard the other day, it's like God will, I said, I feel like I heard the other day, this happened to me. God will stop talking to you. God will stop talking to you. Okay. If you're asking for something and he's telling you and you're not listening.
Mm.
It's like if you're it's like a parent.
Yeah.
If you tell your child something, if they asking for something and you giving it to them or you're telling them and they're not listening, what are you gonna do?
Mm.
You're
Mhm.
gonna stop talking. You're just gonna be like, you know what? You're not serious about this.
Mm. Mhm.
So yeah.
And you know, as a parent, like it's so interesting because I can watch my children interact.
Mhm.
One day they were arguing. I sat back and I was just like, I'm just gonna watch this because I'm tired
Yeah.
of talking. I said to myself, well, I said to God, I said, God, is this what you go through? Like, is this what, like for real? Like, as
Yes.
a parent, as a
Yes.
even as a child, when you reflect back on how you treated your parents, you have
Oh
to put things in perspective and realize, yo, that's how we be doing God at the same time.
man. Dang. That's terrible. I'm sorry, God. Like, dang.
And I remember the first time I asked that question, I was like, God, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Apologize
Mhm.
because it does like it don't hit you until you see somebody else do it or
Yeah.
until you experience it yourself. But I literally tell my kids like, yo, this is what we be doing to God. Like,
Mhm.
especially when we arguing and he be like, don't argue and we still don't listen. Cause
Mhm.
there's times where we're told not to say something. We still like
They
want to
still
feel
do.
and God be like this, like, I don't know
Mhm.
if he be like this, but I feel like he be like this looking at us like,
Right.
oh, what
In
y'all
your
doing?
mind, you'd be like this.
I'm so tired, but you know what? I'm a patient God, so just
Yeah.
go ahead.
And he loves us. He loves us for
He
sure.
does. He
Yeah. But he will
definitely.
lovingly correct us.
You know,
So
it's so what? Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you said that because it was either in a song or I heard it somewhere where it says, I think it was a song, God's love is the best love.
yeah, that's
It,
beautiful.
I think it was a good song because I'm on my Jonathan McReynolds hardcore
Yes,
and
we love
listen,
Johnny Mac.
hardcore. But I don't think it was him who was singing it. It was probably the song, like that's my station on Pandora. And it was a song this morning about God's love being the best love. And I remember being told to share it,
Mhm.
and I would have been able to go back and see who played it. So, I didn't listen.
Yeah.
I didn't listen, but I do listen most of the time. I am a good listener most of the time.
Most
I'm
of
still
the
working on
time.
some other things.
Mhm, mhm.
All right. How do how do you seek God's guidance in your business life?
Okay. So I would say I seek God the same way I seek him in any other part of my life. So prayer, I seek God through prayer, through
No.
time, um, through relationship with him. I that's how I seek him
Mhm.
through prayer. My favorite scripture is Philippians 4:6. Don't worry about anything, pray about everything. And I can't quote it yet, but it's don't worry about anything, pray about everything, and give God thanks for all he has already done for you.
Mhm.
So for me, it's like I pray about every part of my life,
Mm.
every part. And I'm not perfect, so there sometimes I forget. I ain't gonna like sometimes I want to, they say pray without ceasing. I want to get to that place,
Mm.
right? But I'm human and sometimes I will forget to pray about something and then I'll have to just immediately. okay, God, like, have a conversation with God. But pray about everything. Pray about absolutely. I remember when it comes to even just my candles, right? When I finally decided to be obedient, I
Yes.
remember I started to pray about it. And I remember laying in bed and I was meditating and I saw a vision of my candle, the labels of my candle,
Mm.
down to the colors. God showed it to me, down
Listen,
to the colors, what the labels look like, everything. I just prayed, I meditated, I asked, I received.
so I literally said this the other day on one of my lives on Instagram. I said, God tells me my future before it happened.
Mhm.
But it's not a me thing. It's not just a Terry thing.
Yeah.
God tells us our future before it happens. But
Mhm.
more, I guess, depending on relationship, is like you had said about your purpose, God will give you glimpses of it.
Mhm.
I'm at a point where God will literally tell me this is what's about to happen. Like,
Mhm.
this is what you're about to experience. This is what you're about to go through. This is what you need to do. And this is how I'm going to help you on the other side of it. Like
Yeah,
that's the space I operate in now. But
that's
when I
awesome.
started, it was the glimpse, and that's how we know how to get to certain milestones because we're seeking that vision that we have or had that God gave us and not realizing that God gave it to us. And that's where, for me, I had asked God in 2016 when He gave me my purpose to widen my platform, increase my territory. And through, different ways, God has been doing that. So I'm happy to be in a space where I can really use this platform to get those who are trying to understand God more
Mhm.
to really get it, I want to say, in their heads that really truly helps us with so much of our lives and not just so much, really in every part of our lives, because people want to give God love and give God the money part and give God the, maybe sometimes the eating healthy part, but but
Yeah.
then everything else they want to keep for themselves,
Yeah.
not realizing, no, give it all to God. Like give it
Mhm.
all to God. Like you said,
Mhm.
in the beginning of this, God created our stories before we were born.
Yeah.
So when we realize that we have a book with our name on it and there's
Yep.
pages in that book that is affiliated to our journey, then we will learn to kind of sit back. And that sitting back can be tedious,
Mhm.
task, challenge.
Mhm.
Because we're not in control when we
Yeah.
say, God, please order my steps. And
Yeah.
it can be challenging. It can feel scary
Yeah.
because it's like going down a roller coaster. You don't have any control, right?
Mhm.
But there was a song I listened to today. It really might have been Jonathan McReynolds on this one, where
Yeah.
he, the God of hills and mountains. Um,
Mm.
and, for me, I'm do my best every day to free fall into God because I
That's beautiful.
understand and have experienced too much
Yeah.
from and seeing like God will say something and it will happen, whether it happened that day or the next week or in that month. God will literally say, Terry, this is it, and I will see it come to pass. So for me, I love being able to help people understand that so they can learn how to stop getting in God's way and
Mm.
understand life can be difficult or it
Mhm.
can be easier.
Yeah.
It's difficult when we try to do things on our own accord and figure things out. I was just
Mhm.
telling my team today, I literally said to my team today, I said that we have a path, but
Yeah.
I was also telling them about the fact that, you know, the path that God designs to us is the easiest path. But
Mhm.
what the main thing I said to them was that we don't, we are, and I say we because they can hear as well. So for
Okay.
this pertains to the people who can hear, right?
Yeah.
Or in their journey of hearing, no matter if they just got started or not. If you have just gotten started in your hearing of God, whether you hear His voice, you feel His voice, you are prompted, you see the visions. We
Mhm.
literally have the best assignment, which is just listening to the instructions. And what
Yeah.
that means is that we can operate in a space of not having to figure things out because we can hear, and all we have to do is ask God for the instructions or wait for the instructions to come. There
Yes.
is a easier path, and that is the easiest path to
Yeah.
just, and again, we get in our own way, right? Not
Yeah.
only do we get in our own way, we get into God's way.
Yeah.
And I really pray that people can really experience God in the ways that will keep them aligned to his will by letting him show up in the way that he wants to.
Yes. Let God be God. Let
Let
God be God in your life.
him be our guide and light.
Yes. I I I I heard just now, and I've been hearing like all morning, actually, all day. Um, in my weakness, he is strength.
Mm,
In our weakness, he is strength. And so you are very mature in your walk and in your relationship and in your hearing and in your obedience, right? We talk about it all the time, and I always say, I want to hear like that. You know what I mean? And we have those conversations, but for people who are just getting into their walk with Christ or seeking, no matter how old you are, no matter, you know, whatever, it's not always easy. You know what I'm saying? Personally, I've gone through where I'm hearing God audibly. I'm feeling God through my intuition. I have dreams, you know what I'm saying? Vision. And then sometimes where I just don't.
mm.
Straight up. And you know this because we've had these conversations where it's like you're like, well, but no, you could hear. And I'm just like, yeah, but I don't know what's been going on lately. Like
Yeah.
it's not because I'm still in my walk and I'm still seeking, but it's not always going to be just easy. It's not going to always just be like, oh, you ask, you get an answer. Sometimes it will. Sometimes he's going to wake you up out your sleep with an answer or with something, a message, something. But in what's not easy for us is easy for God.
Mm, mm.
What
Say it
is
again.
what is not easy for us is easy for God. What is, you know, where we are weak, he is strong. When we take a small step, he takes a big step.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And it's knowing that and having faith in that
yes,
and trusting that.
that part.
You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yes, sorry. What literally God told me this a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
It's almost like, Terry, told you, I said what I said, pretty much.
Mhm.
God said, I said what I said. And understand, confusion will try to make you feel otherwise. But
Yeah.
remember, I said what I said.
Yeah.
So that was something that God said to me today because I was wrestling with something that He told me,
Mhm.
and confusion was getting in the way. And then
Yeah.
I started doubting, and God is like, remember, confusion is going to try to make you doubt me,
Yes.
but I
Yeah.
said what I said.
Yes. That's
And
good.
His word does not come back void.
Not at all. Not at all.
That what
Yeah.
He said.
Yeah. Earlier you referred to a book. Um, the pages in the book, Our Lives being the page in the book. And I just kept thinking like, how good it feels to know that the end of the book is written.
Yes.
That's what I felt in that moment you were talking about it. It's like how good it feels to know that God has written the beginning, the middle, and the end of your book.
Come through.
Like, who do you go to for direction but the writer of your story, the creator of you? You know what I mean? If
Ooh.
it's an emotional thing, like to know that God has created you, He's written your story, He chose you, and it's like, why would you go anywhere else?
And that's where people go wrong. And I remember saying just like a couple nights ago, what I had said to that was that people tend to go to their friends and family because it feels easier,
Mhm.
because they rather not hear what God has to say because they know that they're going to have to listen, or they may not like, they may be anticipating another answer, or it may just be not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
But then you go to someone and ask someone their opinion, and
Mhm.
that person is not led by God. So then
Mhm.
it becomes the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like yes, I would say this: going to someone and asking their opinion for me will only be relevant if I know that person can hear, because I know that they can give me God's perspective. Because
Yeah.
there's times where God will also want us to go through other people for answers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is an absolute fact. Your community. You know what
Yes,
I'm saying? We weren't meant to be here alone. We were
yes,
not here alone.
yes,
Um,
community.
God will give you, he gave me a message one day for someone. You know what I mean? And so he will do that. He will
Yes.
do
You
that.
talking
That was
about,
the yeah. Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to
yes,
talk about
gave you a
that.
message for me. Yes.
Yes. And that is that's not the first time,
Mm,
right? Like initially I was like, oh, that's the first time I've heard tell her. It's
mm-hmm,
the first time I've heard that. Like
mm.
the message.
Well, you heard the right instructions to tell me.
Yes. Yes.
You never heard
But
that before?
no,
Mm.
no. But through just, I don't know, through time, I realized like, oh, that's not the first time I've been given a message to give to someone.
So
And
you
that
received
kind
a
of
reminder.
aligns with my
Yes.
purpose as well.
Right. So what God did was give you a reminder of
Mhm.
your history, of being able
Mm,
to know someone's story so you
mm.
can be more confident in what you told me.
Yeah. Yes. Because the message he gave me for you was that wasn't the first time I heard the message
Mm-hmm,
for you,
mm-hmm,
but it's the first time he was like, tell her
mm-hmm.
and tell her.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So yeah, and that back to that question before, I think that is one of the times where it was like that's a part of my purpose. Where I
Mm.
realized like God had always been giving me messages for people, and that's probably why I've always been that friend or that person that people can go to, and I'm their confidant because I've been given messages to people.
So I'm receiving chills right now, which means it's my angels rejoicing. Because, and I'm getting it again, because when you were talking about being on a playground, I
Mm,
heard that was tied to your purpose.
mm. Thank you, Jesus.
And I'm still
That's
getting
it
chills.
right there.
So my angels are rejoicing. Yep.
Having a moment. Give me a second. I'm having a moment. Wow. Wow, my God. Who knew that this is what would come out of this conversation?
Listen,
God.
tell you, I had a clarity call with someone a week or two
Oh,
ago.
thank you, Lord.
And yes, God, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, God will, we will make a plan and God will show us better. I
Mm,
had a clarity call with someone pertaining to them launching their business. And God turned that whole clarity call. He turned it into a clarity call. It still remained a clarity call, but it was
mm.
not what we thought.
Yeah.
It was clarity on what they needed to do so they can move out of God's way.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. So people don't understand, like, there is so much power in ourselves when we allow God to work through us, and also partner with other people so they can actually help you get to where you need to be, because
Yeah.
so many people are embarrassed to talk about it. They are, shy to talk about it. They didn't talk about it growing up, so they don't want to expose themselves and be vulnerable to someone else because it makes them feel like they don't have control, not realizing your inability to speak on your situation to gain clarity through someone else because you don't know how to get clarity yourself through God, will help your life change.
My goodness. This is a whole moment. Like, this is a whole moment. Oh my gosh. Wow. I can't, like, I can't, it's nothing I can even say right now. Like, my mind is blown as as usual.
Mind
Oh,
blown. So
God blows my mind every time.
I'm told to bring this up. So I helped you learn how to hear.
Yes.
And the question is, what was your experience, I guess? Kind of talk about that when I taught you how to hear for the first time.
Um, it was eye-opening. The it was confirming, a confirming moment. Like, um, you don't know until you know, right? And so when I've had my first interaction with you, and as you've been mentoring me, honestly, um every interaction, it's like God is telling me, like, I've been here all along.
Mm,
I've been here all along, Amanda. Like, and you know it.
yes.
That's the
Yes.
part.
Yes.
That's the part. You know what I'm saying? And I say this for anyone who hears this, for the people who, in their deepest, their heart of hearts, that deep part of you, you know that where you are or what you're doing, God has more. Like, you just have that feeling in you. Listen to that.
Yes.
Listen to it. Listen to it, because God has been with me all along. Everything we talk about, Terry, everything I talk about with God, in prayer, with you, with my other friends, with my sisters in Christ, it's always confirmation.
Yes. That's how God works.
Yes. And it's just confirmation of what you already know, was already in you, what you've been stubborn to listen to. Like, it's confirmation. God is like, yeah, but you already know that.
Mm,
You already know that. You know what I mean? And it's important to still have that, community in those conversations, because sometimes you don't know how to put it in words. Sometimes someone else gives you the words to say, so you can understand it.
mhm.
But when you understand it, then it's like, but I knew that. I
Yes.
knew God been talking to me. I knew God had more for me. Um, I've always known. Like, I feel like I went off a little bit from the question, but
No,
that's just what.
no, it was what I get from it is confirmation.
Mhm.
And a lot of times that's what God will do.
Yeah.
God will use people to confirm, because spirituality is something that we hear about and you don't know it until you know it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where the have faith as small as a mustard seed come in,
Yes.
and move by faith and not by sight comes
Yeah.
in, right? But it's just like, what does that mean? And
Mhm.
until you hear God's voice, and I remember I actually helped a lot of people hear God's voice.
Yeah.
Uh, and I remember one key person who cried
Mm.
because they was wanting it for so long, because I was helping them over a matter of like months and they weren't receiving. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, we're just gonna keep doing it. Like, God
Yes.
was, God would bring it
Consistency.
up, like keep doing it.
Mhm.
And essentially they end up hearing out of the blue. It wasn't even in like the exercise we were doing for them to hear. And she ended up crying. She was like, she was just so overwhelmed
Yeah.
by happiness
Yeah.
and calmness, because that's what comes out of it, right? People end up feeling so calm and feeling
Yeah.
God, just feeling God's presence.
Yeah.
But I was told to bring it up.
Something I learned too is that there's more than one way that I hear God.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
remember the first time I heard God audibly, right? I was in my bed, sleep. I think I turned over to get comfortable and I heard a voice. It was the voice of a man. Maybe I'm gonna say it was the voice of a man. It
Go
is
ahead.
what
I'm
it
like,
is.
what you stopping for? Go ahead.
Yeah, like because some people are really weird about, well, the whole gender
My
thing.
my community of is God seekers. So you're in the same
Okay,
place.
uh, okay, that's good because it was the voice of a man, and I heard him, and I wasn't afraid. It wasn't scary. It wasn't. I just went right back to sleep. I just turned over and went to sleep. It was so calming and so peaceful and so it was almost normal, which is weird because I was like that. That's the first time I've audibly heard the voice of
Mm,
God, and it was
mm.
like, okay, and right back to sleep.
I,
Um,
I'm hearing, what did he say?
oh man. Okay, I would say it. He told me to be a better sister.
Oh,
He gave
okay.
me instructions.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he told me to be a better sister. Oh, but with meeting and having conversations with you and what you've been teaching me, I remember just being like, oh, like I hear God in multiple ways.
Hmm.
We would
Hmm.
do these exercises, and I'm like, I think I might have, you know what I mean? And I realized like I'm hearing audibly, but I'm hearing through my intuition.
Hmm.
And I remember even one of the last times we sat in a room together, you asked me you asked me what I hear, but you also said, what do you see?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing myself on my knees.
Mm.
And I
About,
was like, oh,
yes,
huh?
about being
What you,
humble.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Hmm.
And I said, I remember, I was seeing myself on my knees. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, God will give me those
Come to
type
me
of
like a
visions.
child. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I
He will
remember.
give me those visions as well. So yeah, I learned that I hear from God in multiple ways, and I can't just think God is only going to speak to me in one way. You
And
know what I mean?
that's the part. Yes.
Yeah,
That's the
because
part.
I felt like I kept looking for God to speak to me audibly at night while I'm in my bed. And
Mm,
he actually came back. He spoke to me audibly at night while I was in my bed again.
mm,
Right. So I feel like, oh, that's the way God speaks to me. That's the only way God speaks to me.
mm,
But
mm. Nope.
it's many
And
ways.
that's one of the things I've said it on different episodes, and I've said it on different lives on, my Instagram, where I tell people God speaks to us in so many different ways, and the visions that we see is God giving us a vision of what is to come. And when we stay steadfast in God and stay steadfast in our journey with God,
Yeah.
nothing else matters, right?
Yes.
The confusion, the distractions, anything that's negative, we just have to learn to push through it. The more we push through it, the easier it becomes. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that God tells me, that obstacles are meant to be overcome.
Yes. Yes,
So,
they are.
last question. Well, there
Okay.
is a question in the end, but last question. What advice and tips do you have to anyone that's in your field of making candle? So give
Mhm.
one tip of like what you would, not what you would do differently. That's a tip. What comes to you? Actually, yes, whatever comes to you as far as that tip.
Mm. On specifically making candles.
Yes.
I would say do your research.
Okay.
That's an easy tip. I mean, do your research. Yeah, whatever you're doing, do your research. And of course, praying about whatever it is that you're doing is first and priority. But you also have to do the work too. You have to do some of the work,
Mhm,
right? You
mhm.
have to have the faith, but you have to do the work,
Yes.
right? And so the work comes with just
Ooh. Sorry, what came to me was faith is dead without work.
yeah.
Mhm.
So do your research. Learn about what it is you're doing.
Mhm.
Learn about what it is you're doing. Yeah.
Yes, learn your industry,
Mhm.
understand that there is no competition. That's episode, I
Oh,
want to say
that's
episode
good.
8.
That's good.
But one of the episode, there is no competition in God's download to me on what that means in terms of spirituality, of there be no competition, but definitely research. You have to understand, you have to master what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And God has told me that as well. You have to master, you become the master of what it is that he's having you to do in your business. So
Mhm.
one of the things that God has told me over the time is that it's not about reaching that $1 million business overnight. That's going to take
Right.
time. A lot of
Time.
times people see people become successful in their journey, but don't realize that's year 7, year 10, year 20, year 25.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah,
they're
lots
seeing
of sacrifices.
they're seeing steadfast work over a number of years.
Mhm.
So anyone who talks about overnight success, they're not telling the truth. They're
No
just,
such thing.
there's no such thing. So when you are in year 1, 2, 3, 5, like even 7, matter of fact, as you are just in your journey of being in a business, you're going to always grow. But
Yeah.
through that growth comes research and understanding of yourself and who your customer is, and
Yeah.
niching down even more so you can speak to that one audience. And
Mhm.
with that, before we go,
Yeah.
tell the people what island you represent,
Okay.
where you grew up
Uh,
in New York.
yes, yes. So I am a West Indian girl. My father is from Grenada. My mother is Panamanian. Yes. And I'm from Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Nice, nice,
Yes.
good.
Born
That's
and raised.
yes, for our West Indian New York community.
Very,
I'm based,
yeah.
my mom's Grenadian, and I grew up on Flatbush, Brooklyn.
You
So
know what? I always think of that. I'm like, we met in Georgia. We
right.
met, how did we meet in Georgia? Two Grenadian girls from Brooklyn, and we met
Yes.
in Georgia.
Yes,
Yeah,
we met.
it
Yes,
was on purpose, though. It
yes.
was definitely on purpose.
I, we're gonna talk about that another time, because
Okay.
it was that came to me the other day. You in particular came to me the other day in
Hmm.
how our friendship has developed over the years. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you for being on Finding the Wealthy You podcast.
Oh
And,
my
I
gosh.
pray that your journey with God becomes easier and easier. And I pray that you become more steadfast in your obedience, and that you are able to reach the success that God has already designed for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I receive, I accept all of that. And thank you for having me. Like, I've never been on a podcast before. I've never, so I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was a little
You
nervous
did
coming in.
great. No one
Thank you.
knows. No one
Thank
knows.
you. But no, thank you. I really, really, really appreciate this. I feel like the whole time I felt like this is just the beginning. Even before we started, like so be fully transparent, when you asked me and I told you this, I was like, yeah, like I, 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 that was on my mind basically. And I know that's from God. Me being on your podcast was on my mind right before you asked me to
Wow.
be on your
Which
podcast.
you already know. I already tell people God tells us
Yeah.
things and then it happens. Like,
And then it
this is just
happened.
another confirmation. I'm trying to, like, I have this desire.
Hmm.
I pray every morning and night
Yes.
that more people really understand how God operates.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I can't tell you how many times that I would think about somebody and they will message me,
Yeah.
or I would, like, literally, I would think of someone and then they would send me a message, or just things like that. Or,
Yeah.
you know, God speaks to us in more ways than we know, and God tells us things before it happens. So, yeah, so I'm receiving like different things that has happened.
Yeah, he was talking to us at the same time. He had to be. He was
Because
telling us
God
at the same
is
time.
source energy.
Yeah.
Literally, when people think about how homes are, connected to the source of electricity and how
Hmm.
it lights up all these homes, that's how God lights us up.
Yeah.
And God is a living spirit that lives within us.
Yeah.
He's there regardless if people know it or not, whether
Yeah.
people want to acknowledge him or not. I said to someone the other day, I said, I know too much about God to ever deny him,
Yes. That's
because
facts.
when you can hear
Oh,
clearly,
my goodness.
hello. I'm just like, I, it's not that I feel sorry for those who don't understand. I
Mhm.
just pray that they will understand, because
Yeah.
this is a life-changing journey to, again, be in a space where you're working towards obedience, to where you don't have to figure out your life, because
Oh,
it's already done.
yes.
All we gotta do is just follow through.
The best is already done.
The best is
Amen.
already done.
It's already done.
And what
Yeah.
I'm going to say before we end this podcast is, I'm going to say, for me, my moment of clarity came
Mhm.
in launching my business, really and truly in launching my business, was I want to live this one life that God has given me
Yeah.
by not having any regrets and doing the
Mhm.
things that I felt led to do. And that's
Yes.
where I
Yes. Oh my
stopped being
goodness.
afraid and started moving forward in what God has gifted me with.
Yes. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm so thankful. Like I am so grateful. And I know people say that, but I am so just elated. Like I'm thankful. I'm filled, you know what I mean? I'm overflowing. I am so happy with where God has brought me so far, because I know there's so much more to go.
Yes,
I know it.
that
You
part,
know what I mean?
that part.
And I'm no longer afraid of it. And
Mm,
I'm thankful for that,
mm,
because regardless of what happens, regardless of what people think, regardless of anything, I know God has.
mm.
And so I am thankful. Sometimes my prayer to God is just thank you.
Yes. And that's what God wants to hear.
Mhm.
And I guess last thing,
Last.
because this was what also helped change my trajectory. I remember hearing, when I was asking God about my purpose, to
Mhm.
start asking God, how do I serve him? And it
Yes.
was one of my female angels that said it to me, because I
Yes.
remember hearing it.
Yes.
And it literally became something that is now my life.
Yes.
I put servitude in my intentions every single morning.
Yes.
And even throughout the day, I want to live this life serving God and
Yes.
making him happy, and proud to be my Heavenly Father and my Creator.
Yes. 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 Last. Last. When I meet God, when I
Mm.
see Jesus, I want him to be proud of me.
You know what? We ain't doing no last. So we're just gonna go ahead and say that. Because the reason why I say that is because literally just the other day, I said something about Judgment Sunday. I feel like it was Sunday, because CCC Brooklyn Church,
Mhm.
Pastor A.R. Bernard, I listen to him every week. If I miss
Mhm.
a Sunday, I'll catch it on YouTube the Monday. Love A.R. Bernard. He is a teacher, like, for me, no other, for me.
Yeah.
He they had a guest choir come, and they were singing about Judgment Day. And
Mm.
God told me every day is Judgment Day,
Ooh.
because he
Ooh.
judges us every day.
Ooh, we're gonna have to talk more about that.
And
Ooh.
what God told me was that, yes, when we do go to heaven, when we do go to the gates
Yes.
of Judgment Day, our
Mhm.
official Judgment Day, we will get a reflection to see what we've done in our lives. We will get an overview of the good things we've done and the bad things we've done. God has already confirmed that to me. But
Yes.
I will tell you this, God said to me, every day is Judgment Day. So when people talk about, oh, when Judgment Day come, no, Judgment Day is not a when it
It's here.
comes. You're being
Wow.
every day, which is why
Wow.
I'm very careful about the things I do and the things I say, because I'm very like, I know God is watching me.
Yes.
I'm very cognizant of the fact that I'm watched 24/7. It's so crazy because growing up, I remember when I was in Brooklyn, I always used to hear someone's always watching. But it was always when I was like passing somebody's window. Because in Brooklyn, like
Mm.
some parts of Brooklyn, in some neighborhoods, they don't have no curtains, right?
Yeah.
I don't I would say I don't have no curtains in the back of my like no, I have curtains back of my house, but
Mhm.
my front door, you can see through my front door, but we kind of live on a hill. So
Mhm.
you can't really see inside the house, but I like the
Mhm.
design of the front door. But
Mhm.
anyhow, I remember hearing someone is always watching from when
Mm.
I was younger. I will always
Mm.
hear that passing by the windows or just walking the street thinking somebody's watching me. I would
Yeah.
someone's always watching, not knowing God was watching me. My
Mhm.
angels are watching me. Had
Yeah.
no clue, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm very conscious of the things I do, the things I say, because I have a higher level of understanding God and how he operates.
Mm.
So even when like I'm messaging somebody, I'm very careful, like, ooh, should I say that? Should I not say that? Matter of
Yeah.
fact, God has listen, we're gonna have to do another podcast, another you about to be a
Yes.
guest host
Part
because
two.
like I got a lot. God has taught me so much, but really and truly, the one of the lessons this week, because I'm learning a lesson every day, was
Mm.
that we are judged every day.
Wow. That that's wow. My
Yes,
mind is blown again.
yes.
My mind is blown again. Ooh.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this podcast. And Amanda, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I so appreciate every conversation we have, really. But I'm so thankful to be your first guest. Um, I don't even know what else to say, but thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful.
Well, what God has taught me is don't thank me, thank him.
Yeah. Well, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. Well, we will chat another time, and I hope to have you back one day when your
Yeah.
business has uh pivoted and progressed and doing what God wants it to do
Yeah.
continuously.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, we'll talk
Can't
soon.
wait.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I pray that you enjoyed this episode of the Wealthy You podcast. Again, I am your host, Terry Black. Be sure to connect with me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and stay tuned for more podcasts. If you would like to work together or be a guest on the show, you can send me an email at terry@thewellshare.com, or you can go on to my website, thewellshare.com.